I want to talk about two things today from Second John. We're in verse 4, and both things come out of that verse. So it says, "It has given me great joy," John writes, "to find some of your children walking in the truth, just as the Father commanded us." We talked last time about joy. Where does joy come from? And what's joy look like? Joy is a lot harder to define and nail down than I thought it would be. I don't know about you, but this deep inward settled satisfaction, as a matter of fact, I think, and I got this idea a little bit from C.S. Lewis, that excuse me, this deep seated, I don't know even how, but the joy thing involves a little bit of longing and a little bit of satisfaction for our deepest longing. I think our one of his ideas is if we long for more than there is in this world, doesn't that indicate there's more to reality than what we can see in this world? And he said an interesting thing, another interesting thing I picked up this morning about joy, that sometimes delight seems like joy. Or is it actually, his words were, sometimes delight is a substitution for joy. And I think that's probably true, because joy is deeper than mere delight. Okay, so we talked about joy more than we probably needed to. The big question for me about joy is, how do I... Two things. How do I express joy? And what gives me joy? A lot of the world is locked into a kind of perpetual motion machine where happiness is their objective. Joy doesn't matter so much, but happiness, that's the objective. That's the target. That's the goal. Well, John says, "It has given me great joy to find some of your children walking in the truth." We also talked about walking in the truth last time. What I want to poke at today is, I find some of your children walking in the truth. It's a fact. And in some ways, a sad fact that not everybody who claims to be God's child walks in the truth. John says, some of your children, not even most of your children, only some. Now, there's a couple of ways I want to poke at this thing. First is, sometimes it's tempting as serious Christians to kind of appoint ourselves to detect the not serious Christians out there, right? These are the people who are not walking according to the truth. They're not serious enough about God and His work in their life and the truth. Well, the Pharisees in Jesus' day are the most clear and dramatic picture of this kind of thought. The Pharisees didn't begin as a movement that was founded and basically was the arm of judgment. They were founded to call Israel back to God's commands, His design. And this was in the era of the Maccabees in the 400 years of silence between the ending of the Old Testament and the beginning of the New Testament. But by the time Jesus came on the scene and as a physical man for his 30-some year life, the Pharisees seem to have made their number one mark, whether they thought it was their objective or not. It was the number one mark that we see as we read the Gospels, was to point out who was not serious. They see, when you walk in the truth, just something that happens is you can notice. How I phrase this is important, so I'm trying to be careful. But you can notice those who aren't walking, who aren't living in the truth or by the truth. So you have to be careful. I don't get to judge these people. I can make observations, but boy, you know what? The most accurate, insightful observation is no more than a hair's width from judgment. I don't want to take the responsibility. I don't have the wisdom for it. I don't have the background to be your judge. So I don't want that. And here's another thing, and this may be, equally as big for me, is that Jesus said, that the way you judge others is the way you will be judged. Holy smokes. I don't want, number one, the whole idea of being judged is a little bit scary to me. More than a little bit scary. I don't like it. When I was working in churches that were organized with annual reviews, I never looked forward to the annual review, even when I'd had a great year. I just, the judgment side of things is not appealing or attractive to me. So I don't want, and the second thing is, because there will come a day when I will be judged and all my works, everything I've done, and that's everything good and bad, will be exposed. The Apostle Paul writes that there's going to come a time when all of our works will be judged, and we'll go through the fire of judgment. And there's wood, hay, stubble, jewels, and precious stones. And the precious stones and gold and silver, they get, the fire doesn't damage them, but the rest gets burned away. And I can see that. Okay. My job is not to judge who is and who is not walking in the truth. But I have to be, honesty requires that we realize not everybody who is part of the church, who claim the church, who have said yes to Jesus, not all of us, it's not just them, all of us walk in the truth. Now, I don't want to make more of this than is there, and yet it it deserves a look. That there are times when all of us step outside the truth, and we're weak, we're flawed, we are willful, we're broken, and have been ever since Adam and Eve. And if it hadn't been Adam and Eve, it would have been Steve and somebody. So we are going to fail. For again, the Apostle Paul all have sinned and fall short of the glory of God. So that it's gonna, nobody but Jesus walked in the truth 24/7 for their entire life. It's going to happen that we will misstep. So here's the point. The point is, first of all, I'm not the judge for whether you're walking in the truth or not. If you want me to be an accountability partner, I might consider that, because that's on the basis of my observation. I might be able to share an observation that would say, gosh, I'm just asking the question here. Is that what it looks like to walk in the truth? But I'm not set up to be a judge. I'm not capable, not qualified. And although there are times that I'm very tempted for it, I do not want to be the judge. So my focus has got to be, how do I walk in the truth? So there's that. Some of your children are walking in the truth. You know, the church is the company of broken people. I once read a deal that we are the people of the second chance. And I think you could probably put in parentheses and third and fourth and fifth, et cetera, et cetera. I think that people are prone to not doing the right thing. I mean, we just have this propensity for it. Some people call that original sin. I'm not sure that I basically believe there was an original sin, but I think I am guilty of my own sin. So we'll just leave it at that. So the first thing is, some of your children are walking in the truth. A second thing is this next phrase, just as the Father commanded us. I don't think this is just an American thing, but I do know it is an American thing. We do not like to be commanded. We don't like people telling us what to do. And I am at the head of that line. I don't like people telling me what to do, especially if what they're telling me to do doesn't make sense to me. I don't like that. I find myself routinely resisting the idea of masking up. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, and if it does to you, I'm sorry that I'm offensive. I'll do my best to not hurt you, but it's just one of, I don't know, probably a million times when I find it, I resist command. You know what, though? I signed up to follow the commands of my Father. When I said yes to Jesus, it's interesting. He punched my ticket. I'm heaven bound, not because of what I've done, but because of what he did. But when I said yes to him, I also signed on to, well, what I did is I signed the title and deed of my life over to him. And part of what that means is now his desires, his design, his commands are my structure for life. They define, they give the parameters and boundaries and I guess this is maybe the wrong way to say it, but I would say the script for my life. Two quick things. One is, most Christians don't know what God has commanded. They haven't read the Bible enough to know that. Most Christians, I'm convinced, have never read the whole New Testament, let alone the entire Bible. Which commands are we most bound to? You know what? I'd be totally satisfied if every Christian, including me, would just obey the commands we find in the Newest Testament. Second thing is we often know the command and we just don't do it. Because what I want is more important than what God has said He wants. I'm the only one that's that way. I'm probably pretty sure so. No, I'm not. I'm not accusing you. Again, I'm not judging you. I'm just saying, hey, maybe you should look into your own life and make that judgment call for yourself. Well, time's up. More than up. Now I'm going to close. I'll see you next time on Soul Care with Stevie Boy.